Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Salim Akhtar Malik, your host at the Observation Post channel. This channel is dedicated to discussing issues of national and international importance, security matters, and important events from military history. You can interact with me on my channel by giving your precious views to the various talks that I deliver. You can also get the transcripts of my videos on solicitation at my Twitter address, which is at Salim Akhtar 53. The subscription as well as transcripts are gratis, that is, no fee is charged. In this session, I'll be discussing about the Israeli plan to construct a canal through its territory, uh, which would be running almost parallel to the Suez Canal and will be an alternative to the Suez Canal. The discussion has been generated, and the Israeli plan has come into the limelight as a result of the mishap in the Suez Canal during the last week of March, when a Chinese container ship carrying its cargo was heading towards the Dutch port of Rotterdam, and while in the vicinity of the southern end of the canal, it was struck by a sandstorm, and due to poor visibility, it got wedged in. It could not be properly piloted and got wedged in between the two ends, between the two opposite banks of the canal. When it struck the canal, got stuck in the canal, it caused disruption to the global supply chain for more than a week and resulted in losses amounting to billions of dollars to the world economies. Now, Israelis for quite some time had been advocating linking the Mediterranean with the Red Sea in order to create an alternative to the Suez Canal. But the details about such a canal or about any other alternative arrangement to replace the Suez Canal or to be used as a substitute for the canal were never adumbrated. That is, they were never cleverly spelled out. As early as 1902, Theodor Herzl, the father of Zionism, had written a novel in which he had suggested pumping seawater from the Mediterranean Sea through a pipeline to the Dead Sea, and then making use of the differential and the gradient between the Mediterranean and the Dead Sea, which comes to about 400 meters, generate electricity. Now, the amount of generating electricity, as a recent study shows, would not be more than 300 megawatts, which is not much. However, by bringing Mediterranean sea water to the Dead Sea would save the Dead Sea from drying out. Now, during the 1960s, Israel had diverted the waters of Jordan River to its Negev desert. Now, since time immemorial, Jordan River had been emptying itself into the Dead Sea, thereby keeping it alive. This has stopped since then, and the experts say that the sea, that is the Dead Sea, will die within 50 years, another 50 years. However, this was something through a pipeline, this is transporting water through a pipeline between Mediterranean and the Dead Sea. Never was there any mention of a plan to build a canal linking the Mediterranean with the Red Sea. So, the Israeli proposal for a canal, the so called Ben Gurion Canal, was never spelled out before. It is said that recently a secret American uh, feasibility study or report has been declassified, which suggested blasting a canal by the United States, blasting a canal between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea through nuclear explosions. Now, it would require 300 plus nuclear bombs to create such a canal. I think anyone who had made such a plan, such a mad plan, was not in his senses. He was high on weight. Now, utilizing 300 plus nuclear bombs to cut a canal through the Israeli territory, uh, do you understand and do you realize how much radioactivity it would generate? So it was a nonsense plan. We come to the alternative, to another option, to digging a canal linking the Mediterranean with the Red Sea. And this is the second option is about creating a railway link between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. In 2012, the Israeli cabinet had voted for a project that would link the Israeli Mediterranean port of Ashdod with the Red Sea port of Eilat. However, after some time, the plan was shelved because it was not considered economically and ecologically feasible. We'll discuss how it was and on what grounds it was rejected. However, in the wake of the recent uh, incident in the Suez Canal, we again here talks about creating a link, a parallel link, which would be a substitute for the Suez Canal. And since digging a canal would be very prohibitive in terms of money as well as uh, loss to the environment, the plan now is about a railway link between the Mediterranean and the port of Eilat. However, there is criticism on such a plan also. The plan envisages shipping cargo from Asia, unloading it at the port of Eilat, and thereafter transporting it overland uh, by railway to the Israeli ports, Mediterranean ports, which may be Ashdod, Ashkelon, or Haifa. However, the arguments which are being given even in Israel against such a plan, such a railroad plan to act as an alternative to the Suez Canal are: number one, the port of Eilat cannot be expanded further. Presently, Israel shares Eilat with the Israeli port of Eilat with the Jordanian port of Aqaba, which is just next door. Before the creation of Israel, there is just one port, that was the port of Aqaba. After the creation of Israel, as the war which was fought between the Israeli and the Arabs, the port of Aqaba was divided between Israel and Jordan. So half of it was taken by Jordan and the other half went to Israel. The entire coastline of Aqaba between the port of Eilat and the Egyptian tourist resort of Taba is not more than 13.5 kilometers. Now, such a narrow shoreline is not uh, enough to create an infrastructure for a railway network which would replace the shipping through the Suez Canal. Also, presently, all the Israeli ports, that is the port of Eilat as well as all the ports, the three major ports on the Mediterranean, which are Ashdod, Ashkelon, and Haifa, they are working at their optimum capacity, and no further expansion is possible without creating longer waiting lines, which would be next to impossible to handle. So, only a limited quantum of cargo can be transported by rail between the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. Last year, a joint Emirati Israeli company concluded a deal with the state owned Israeli pipeline company for transportation of Emirati oil through a pipeline to the pipeline owned by the Israeli oil pipeline company. It would be transported through that pipeline to the Mediterranean coast and from there to the European coast, to the European ports. But that would be just a fraction of the total amount of cargo which is presently being transported through the Suez Canal. Hence, uh, the plan for creating a link between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea to act as a rival to the Suez Canal is just not possible. Now, this talk was based on an article written by Israel Fisher, and the topic was: Can Israel's Eilat become an alternative to Suez Canal? It was published in the Israeli newspaper Haaretz on 1st April 2021, that is on April Fool's Day. So it was published on April Fool's Day, but it talks a lot of sense. It was not the only reference which I used for this uh, talk. So this is all I wanted to say during this session. See you in the next video. Till then, Bye bye.